Only common factor amongst the next panelists is that they are all completed CAs. But what they did later is what is going to make it all the more interesting. Also, we'd like to tell that we have amongst us the Trichur brothers, the famous Carnatic musicians. Welcome, sirs. And a designated senior advocate amongst us, Raghuraman sir, welcome sir. And the joint managing director of Sansera and a philanthropist, CA Singhvi ji, welcome sirs.
CA Suresh, practicing since 1988, is a partner in Messrs. Chandran and Raman Chartered Accountants. As president of KSCA, he brought out useful books on due diligence, VAT, networking of firms, and so on. As member of SIRC of ICAI, he has contributed significantly as chairman of the research committee and came out with a concept paper on GST transition provisions published by ICAI. As SICASA member in 1985 to 86, he was instrumental in bringing final coaching classes to Bangalore. He has also authored a book on bank branch audit, which was very well received with 5,000 copies made use of by members. With this introduction, we welcome you to the session, sir.
Thank you.
Over to you.
Aparimita, limitless, boundless. Few of the examples are energy, knowledge, music, and of course, your unending patience today for sitting through the whole day and being there for this session as well. The tagline of Karnataka State Chartered Accountants Association is knowledge is strength, and that is aptly, is one of the things which is limitless and boundless. We have with us people who have been very successful in not only in what they have pursued in the professional careers, but also have taken the flag of ICA to different corners and have made it a huge success in their current fields. I am greatly honored to be mentoring this session, and I am very eager to get them around so that we can kickstart this session. Thank you.
We have amongst us the first zealous CA Singhvi ji. I request CA Raghavendra Shetty to escort our speaker.
ಮಾಜಿ ವಿದ್ಯಾರ್ಥಿ. ಇವರ ತಂದೆಯವರಾದ ಶ್ರೀ ಪ್ರೇಮರಾಜ್ ಸಿಂಘವಿ ಅವರು ಕೂಡ ಚಾರ್ಟೆಡ್ ಅಕೌಂಟೆಂಟ್ ಆಗಿದ್ದು ನಮ್ಮ ಸಂಸ್ಥೆ KSCAA 1978-79 ಅವಧಿಗೆ ಅಧ್ಯಕ್ಷರಾಗಿದ್ದರು. ಪ್ರೀತಿಯಿಂದ FR ಎಂದು ಕರೆಯಲ್ಪಡುವ ಇವರು ವೃತ್ತಿ ಜೀವನದೊಂದಿಗೆ ವ್ಯಾವಹಾರಿಕ ಸಲಹೆಗೆ ಒತ್ತು ನೀಡಿದವರು. ಇವರು ವೈವಿಧ್ಯತೆಯಿಂದ ಕೂಡಿದ ಸಿಂಘ್ವಿ, ದೇವ್ ಮತ್ತು ಉನ್ನಿ ಎಂಬ CA ಪಾಲುದಾರಿಕೆ ಸಂಸ್ಥೆಯನ್ನು ಹುಟ್ಟುಹಾಕಿ ಇದನ್ನ ದಕ್ಷಿಣ ಭಾರತದಲ್ಲಿಯೇ ಅತ್ಯುತ್ತಮ CA ಸಂಸ್ಥೆ ಎಂದಾಗಿಸಲು ಇವರು ಪಟ್ಟ ಶ್ರಮ ಅಪಾರ. ಇವರು ಕರ್ನಾಟಕದಲ್ಲಿ ಮೌಲ್ಯವರ್ಧಿತ ತೆರಿಗೆಯ ಅನುಷ್ಠಾನಕ್ಕಾಗಿ ಮುಖ್ಯಮಂತ್ರಿಗಳ ಸಲಹೆಗಾರರಾಗಿದ್ದರು. ವೃತ್ತಿಯಿಂದ ವ್ಯವಹಾರಗಳ ಕಡೆ ಒಲವು ತೋರಿದ ಇವರು ಒಂದು ಕಂಪನಿಯ ನಿರ್ದೇಶಕರಾಗಿ ಕೇವಲ 6 ಲಕ್ಷಗಳೊಂದಿಗೆ ಆರಂಭಿಸಿ ಇವತ್ತಿಗೆ 1700 ಕೋಟಿಗಳಷ್ಟು ದೊಡ್ಡ ಮಟ್ಟಿಗೆ ಬೆಳೆಸಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಇವರ ಸಾಮಾಜಿಕ ಪರಿಸರ ಕಾಳಜಿ, ಬಡ ವಿದ್ಯಾರ್ಥಿಗಳಿಗೆ ಉಚಿತ ಶೈಕ್ಷಣಿಕ ಸೇವೆಗಳು, ಕೆರೆ ಅಭಿವೃದ್ಧಿ, ಸಸಿ ನೆಡುವುದು ಇಂಥ ಹಲವಾರು ಸೇವೆಗಳು ಇವರ ಪರೋಪಕಾರಿ ಬದುಕಿಗೆ ಹಿಡಿದ ಕನ್ನಡಿ ಇದ್ದಂತೆ. ಉಚಿತ ಡಯಾಲಿಸಿಸ್, ಉಚಿತ ಆಸ್ಪತ್ರೆ ಸೇವೆಗಳು ಹಾಗೂ 50,000ಕ್ಕೂ ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಉಚಿತ ಅನುದಾನದ ಜೋಡಣೆಯ ಸೇವೆಗಳು ಇವರ ಹಿರಿಮೆ. ಇವರ ಪ್ರಿಯವಾದ ಆಟ ಗೋಲ್ಫ್ ಆಗಿದ್ದು ತನ್ನೊಂದಿಗೆ ಇರುವವರನ್ನ ಗೌರವಿಸುವ, ಸಂಬಂಧಕ್ಕೆ ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಬೆಲೆ ಕೊಡುವ, ಗುಂಪು ಕಟ್ಟಿ ಬೆಳೆಸುವ ಕಲೆ ಇವರ ಅತಿಯಾದ ವಿಶೇಷತೆ. ಇವೆಲ್ಲ ಕಾರಣಗಳಿಂದ ಇವರನ್ನ ಪ್ರೀತಿಯಿಂದ ಪರಿಪೂರ್ಣ ವ್ಯಕ್ತಿಯನ್ನು ಕರೆಯುತ್ತಾರೆ. CA Singhvi ಸರ್ ಇವತ್ತಿನ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮದ ಸನ್ಮಾನಿತರಲ್ಲಿ ನೀವು ಒಬ್ಬರು. ಬನ್ನಿ, ನಿಮಗಿದು ಅಭಿನಂದನೆಗಳು.
I now request CA Raghuraman TN to escort our second zealous CA, CA Raghuraman, onto the dais.
Singhvi Raghuraman ಇವರು ಸೇಂಟ್ ಜೋಸೆಫ್ ಕಾಲೇಜಿನ ಮಾಜಿ ವಿದ್ಯಾರ್ಥಿ. ಕಲಿಕೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ತುಂಬಾ ಚುರುಕುತನದ ವಿದ್ಯಾರ್ಥಿಯಾಗಿದ್ದ ಇವರು ಎಲ್ಲ ವೃತ್ತಿಪರ ಪರೀಕ್ಷೆಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಶ್ರೇಣಿಯನ್ನು ಗಿಟ್ಟಿಸಿಕೊಂಡರು. ತಮ್ಮ ಸಿಎ ತರಬೇತಿಯನ್ನ SB ಡಿಲ್ಲಿ ಮೋರಿಯಾ ಅಂಡ್ ಕಂಪನಿಯಿಂದ ಪಡೆದು ನಂತರ RCEM ಚಾರ್ಟರ್ಡ್ ಅಕೌಂಟೆಂಟ್ ಸಂಸ್ಥೆಯನ್ನು ಸ್ಥಾಪಿಸಿದರು. 1980ರ ಸುಮಾರಿಗೆ ಜಾಗತೀಕರಣ ಹಾಗೂ ಆರ್ಥಿಕ ಬದಲಾವಣೆಗಳನ್ನು ಗಮನಿಸಿ ಕಾನೂನು ವಿಷಯದಲ್ಲಿ ಹೆಚ್ಚಿನ ಒಲವನ್ನು ತೋರಿದವರು. ಪರೋಕ್ಷ ತೆರಿಗೆ ವಿಷಯದ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಒಲವನ್ನು ಹೊಂದಿ ನೈಪುಣ್ಯತೆಯನ್ನು ಪಡೆಯುವುದೇ ಇವರ ಗುರಿಯಾಗಿತ್ತು. ಇವರು ಸರ್ವಿಸ್ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್, ಸೆಂಟ್ರಲ್ ಎಕ್ಸಸೈಸ್, ಕಸ್ಟಮ್ಸ್ ಹಾಗೂ GST ವಿಷಯಗಳ ಮೇಲೆ ಹಲವಾರು ಲೇಖನಗಳನ್ನು ಹಾಗೂ ಪುಸ್ತಕಗಳನ್ನು ಬರೆದಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಖ್ಯಾತ ವಕೀಲರಾದ ಶ್ರೀ ನಾನಿ ಫಾಲ್ಕಿವಾಲ್ ಇವರ ಕಟ್ಟ ಅಭಿಮಾನಿಯಾದ ಇವರು ಸುಮಾರು 15 ವರ್ಷಗಳ ಕಾಲ CA ವೃತ್ತಿಯಲ್ಲಿದ್ದು ನಂತರ ವಕೀಲಿ ವೃತ್ತಿಯನ್ನು ಕೈಗೊಂಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ. 700ಕ್ಕೂ ಹೆಚ್ಚು ವಿಚಾರಗೋಷ್ಠಿಗಳು, 100ಕ್ಕೂ ಹೆಚ್ಚು ವರದಿಸಿದ ಪ್ರಕರಣಗಳು ಹಾಗೂ 3000ಕ್ಕೂ ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಮೇಲ್ಮನವಿಗಳು ಇವರ ಹಿರಿಮೆಗೆ ಸೇರಿವೆ. ದೇಶಾದ್ಯಂತ ಇವರ ಹಿರಿಮೆಯ ಖ್ಯಾತಿ ಹಬ್ಬಿದೆ. CA ರಘುರಾಮನ್ ಸದಾ ಕಲಿಕೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಮುಂದಿದ್ದು ಮನಸ್ಸೂರೆ ಗಳಿಸುವ ವಾಗ್ಮಿಯಾಗಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಸೋಲೆ ಗೆಲುವಿನ ಸೋಪಾನ ಎಂದು ನಂಬಿದ ಇವರು ಧಾರ್ಮಿಕ ಹಾಗೂ ಆಧ್ಯಾತ್ಮಿಕತೆಯೆಡೆಗೆ ಒಲವನ್ನು ಹೊಂದಿದ್ದು 30 ವರ್ಷಗಳ ವೃತ್ತಿ ಜೀವನವನ್ನು ತುಂಬಾ ಸರಳವಾಗಿ ಇವರು ಅನುಭವಿಸುತ್ತಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಜ್ಞಾನಾರ್ಜನೆಗೆ ಮತ್ತು ಸಂದೇಹ ನಿವಾರಣೆಗೆ ಸದಾ ಸಹಾಯ ಹಸ್ತ ಚಾಚುವ ಇವರು ನಮ್ಮ ಈ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮದ ಸನ್ಮಾನಿತರಲ್ಲಿ ಒಬ್ಬರು. ಸರ್, ನಿಮಗೆ ನಮ್ಮೆಲ್ಲರ ಪರವಾಗಿ ಅಭಿನಂದನೆಗಳು.
Welcome, sir. I now request CA Chandrasekhar Shetty to escort our distinguished Carnatic musicians CA Srikrishna Mohan and CA Ramkumar Mohan onto the dais. They are famously known as the True Brothers and have been shining in the
politicians, chartered accountants turning business, and chartered accountants turning advocates. It's very rare that you come across a beautiful mix of the world of commerce and then pursuing art and music. Music, not only as a passion but as a profession. Rather, the passion turned profession. Not one chartered accountant, but 2 of them. Both have studied under the same guru. Both practiced music together. Both performed concerts together. Both did their CA articleship in a firm in their hometown, Kerala, together. Both joined the Big Four and corporate jobs after completing their chartered accountancy. Both resigned from the corporate. Both are religious and spiritual. Considering these commonalities between the two, it makes us wonder if they are twins. Not twins, but brothers from the same family. With an age gap of 2.5 years, they are just driven by intense passion and not compulsions or expectations. They believe in traditional values and Indian culture ensure that they left a mark in their chosen field. Music, art and culture is something that runs in their family. Their father is a mridangam player and their mother is a veena player. Music has been inculcated since they were very young and it stays in those who are lucky and able. Cricket is their hobby and a great stress buster. They do watch IPL and Test cricket. They qualify the rigor of child accountancy and also the rigor of music. In this world of technological advancement, little did we know that it can be adopted in the field of music. They have shown us the way. They have used the best of technology by running an online Carnatic music school, True Brothers Online School of Music, or TBOSM for short. Their vision is music is no longer a choice but a necessity. KSEAA is happy to introduce the great True Brothers, namely CA Ramkumar Mohan and CA Srikrishna.
Over to PR Suresh. please, sir.
That was a very interesting question from Srikrishna Mohan that, well, we are here to enlighten everybody, and with the right we also want. That's the power of that music. And I have great research in having very industrious and very successful people around me on the left side. Two of them were championed indirect tax practice, because in the years in which indirect tax practice was there was not the thing for that, but both of them, their steadfastness and the ability to say no to what is not to be done, they championed the cause of the chartered accountants to get into indirect tax practice and been very successful on that. And on the right, I have the people who have been in Big Four, have done transaction advisory, investment banking, and suddenly found that they are calling it into music, and they have made a mark for themselves in music and have upheld the CA flag, because wherever they go, when it's being read about them or talked about them, they are called as two brothers who are successful. So that's been a great privilege and honor for our profession whenever they go out. The Karnataka State Government, I'm very indebted to them because I owe all my standing to them, because way back when I had an opportunity to be part of this organization, this handheld me and made it me into what I am today. And to that extent, the entire organization, the current management committee for having reposed the confidence in me to be the moderator. I thank them heartily. The President, Secretary, Vice President, all of them who have been very kind to ask me to moderate this session. Thank you very much. And as you see that they have chosen a topic called zealous. I think they must have seen the four people who are there, and they possibly would have searched rummaged through the dictionary and have found one single word which actually fits into that called zeal and zealous and reflective. It also goes on to have many of its attributes. One of them is passionate, which I'm sure that you know about it. Very devoted, avid people, energetic, dedicated, fierce, single-minded. It goes on, and it actually fits into each one of them. And among the many chartered accountants we have very distinguished personalities. It is not to miss out somebody, but there are a few things which I would like to just bring on the thought. Association also had Jnanasagara Krishnaswamy, who have been the president of this association. Every year, whenever the conferences would come, the first thing what the president is to go on secretly, and he will, from Sanskrit, he will coin the title for the conference. For decades, he had been the go-to person for KCS tagline for the conference. And he had the distinction of the only chartered accountant, maybe in the late 2000, to have been directly elected as the president of KCA. He didn't want to contest any election. He said, I would not like to go to, because that time he was he got elected to the committee and became the president. He is the only person of that distinction. And of course, his knowledge was very vast. We also had many distinguished personalities among them. Some of them I would like to sort of draw reference who have inspired us, all of us, is S.H. Kesan, Vittal, D.C.S. Raghavan, Ramjari, Srikrishna, Nityananda, and many more zealous professionals who have adorned this profession and contributed a lot. And subsequently, there was a new way of CF which was formed. Right from Singhvi, MSSC, so many of them who brought in a fresh wave of totally new culture and a very professional setup into the definition of color. We also have in terms of gender diversity, extraordinary women, CAs amongst us. Few of them are. There is a chartered accountant by name Ranjani Gopal. I'm sure that not many would have heard about her. Because when she was born, God gave her a lot of abilities that only didn't give her to eyesight. In spite of that, she qualified as a chartered accountant. And she's very much in Bangalore. She was covered in a book called Nightingales, which was released by the SARC through the Society of Officers in Chennai. And in that same thing, we also had today morning Mr. Annapurna Kabra authoring the book on GST and solutions related to that. We also have Sudha Suresh, who was MD and CEO of the Small Finance Bank. He was also covered as one of the achievers in the 1982 book. at 54 she decided that she has to take care of her family and quit as MD and CEO of a listed company. We also have our own secretary of the association, Raghuraman. He has been one person who has been having a self-starter at calendars, but has been contributing a great deal into the association. All these and more of, and also Geeta, who is the first president of KCA, chairman of the branch, and has been in the regional council. These are all very closely from the other side also. So, great privilege for us to have many people who are contributing. And to kickstart this session, I would like to start off interacting with them with regard to the personality and dreams. And as you are speaking about Mr. Singhvi, as he is called as Rekha, he loves to be called as Rekha. His father, Singhvi, was a first generation Chartered, he followed him. And he was the first person to set up the library for Chartered Accountants when the institute was then at the VAS building in Sushila. Sir, the one small thing which you possibly don't know, the biggest beneficiary of the library was my wife. She used to sit throughout the day there and study. When the only employee of the institute was Srikrishna, who used to lot her out, because when he has to go for lunch also, he used to lot her inside there and go out and come. So she made the maximum use of the library. Sir, in terms of the mentorship, Singhvi's efforts tagline is challenging one. And this is something which, if any tough situation comes, he will first tell, look into that. If he finds that it is a tricky situation, he doesn't find a solution, which normally he does very quickly, he will still not leave it. He will say challenge them. And that has been his tagline. And this, with this, he has many students whom he has mentored. And mentorship is one of his very favorite things. Sir, we would like to hear from you what you think is all about you when it comes to saying chartered accountants are not tax consultants, but are business consultants. And you have a host of people whom you have mentored on this.
Yeah, good evening. First of all, it's a very touching moment for me to be here amongst the chartered accountants. And after many years, I've been invited and I've come. So I'm making my point clear and rarely invited. But I'm so happy because I've been saying all along, almost from the time I finished my CA, joined my father, and I found this is not the profession. I mean, I like the degree of chartered accountancy, I like the education of chartered accountants, but I really don't like the work most of you do, the way you do it. And I get criticized because I'm a chartered accountant, and so I used to do that during the CA days. In fact, the previous session chairman, I understand he was with T.N. Mohan. When he became the president of the institute, he wanted me to write a book on a subject I used to talk very, very passionately in almost every seminar. I must have addressed more than 15, 20 seminars, was to create wealth by paying taxes. And in those sessions, I used to talk about that as chartered accountants, we actually cut down business. We make business people smaller. We don't allow them to grow. Because we are looking at how to reduce their taxes rather than looking at how to increase their business. I asked this question so many times in my life, but I haven't got the right answer yet from anybody straight till I explained it. I would put that question again here. What is the income tax rate that one pays? Would anybody answer, including Suresh? What is the income tax rate that we pay on our income? Let's talk about a business income. What is the tax rate that the business income pays towards income?
It would be about 15%.
So this is how we believe as chartered accountants that we pay 15% to 25%. I say we pay less than 1.5%. Because when we look at our business balance sheet and profit and loss account, when you go to the banker, I'm sure Mohan still remembers the financial consultant, we look at percentages of my interest percent cost is 3%, my depreciation cost is 5%, my salary cost is 14%. What is your tax that comes to? It comes because generally today, and those days we used to talk about 10% profit. Today we talk about 6% and 7% profit. So even if I take at the highest rate of 25%, it comes to 1.5% of your turnover. This is not that we pay. But now if you look at in a very different perspective, that as a businessman, he has to pay 1.5% as income tax, and you go and advise him that this 1.5% is your income tax. You think you would do all this kind of tax planning and advices that he would do to create multiple firms, multiple companies, and add headaches of representing all different companies, different audits, different assessments. So to me, this is what the whole profession has been doing, but I know that changes are happening. So I used to do this talk, pay taxes to create wealth. The only good thing I did is that, they say walk the talk. And that is what I did, that whatever I advised, a lot of my friends, my clients followed it. And today I have at least about more than 100 people who followed. They still claim that yes, they are one of the biggest in their own trade and sectors. And I have done well for myself following my own advice. So I have always said that as chartered accountants, we underestimate ourselves and get into tax planning, trying to reduce the tax to the client, because we feel that for the fees that he pays, we are justified, we are obligated to give him the advice how to reduce tax. But please understand that reducing tax with certain tax planning measures, and today it's almost come down, and for those days at least some area that we could reduce. So I can tell you personally, I spent zero time to arrive at what tax my company used to pay. Believe me, in the last 20 years, I have not looked at the calculations that my accountants do, what is the tax to be paid. I have zero litigation in tax. I concentrate on how to increase my business, how to increase my top line, how to increase my percentage of profit, how to get the banks to be very happy. Today, if you want to grow business, you're talking about startup companies, they incur huge losses and they still run and have valuation. How? It's because the funds are there. So this company that I joined, my friend, he started with 37,000 rupees as his capital and 1,13,000 as a term loan. I was his friend and a chartered accountant. 2 years later, when we were seeing the balance sheet, he said, Shekhar, your balance sheet, if I give it to the bank, they will call back your 2.75 lakhs loan. And that's the time, as chartered accountants, 3 of us, we want to do something different than profession. So we invested and started helping out with just 5 lakhs of capital. So who were the people that we had to invest? Not the tax people. We didn't, if you were to do that, I will be here sitting with all these. We wanted to see that the bankers are happy with us. And I can tell you today, the biggest problem I have is to reduce appointment with bankers and investment to give money to my company at interest rates of 0.5% to 6% is the interest cost for my company, and that is basically because my balance sheet would be one of the best, and the reason it is best is because I don't do tax planning. That's it. So if you look at the anatomy of the man, it starts from the head and where it goes, So I say look at the head and not at the bottom. As a chartered accountant, become business consultants. If the business grows, your fees increases. But if the business remains small because he keeps doing all this tax planning and doesn't grow the business, where will your fees go? So both the ways it's a win-win situation. So this is what I was advising more than 25 years ago, and repeating the same thing that after 25 years to tell you that nothing has changed in this to a great extent. Even and today, in fact, this talk becomes more relevant because funding is what everybody looks at, and they look at your competency and they look at your business processes. And that's all it is.
If I had known we get to have a peak of why you are being constantly motivated and interested in it goes without saying that the way you put it across, you say that if you are going to look at 1.5% for what you are going to do for the 98.8%, you are missing the big picture of this one.
Sorry, just to add to that point, the biggest cost is purchases. Your salary, sometimes even your telephone cost is higher than 1.5%, but you don't have to consultant. In fact, only advice to give is get more money from the bank, pay advance to your supplier. He will give you preference on your the material that you want to buy, the product you want to buy. He will give you a discount of 2 to 5%. So you will save more than 100% of tax if you do purchase money by way of your cash manager.
Thank you. If I throw a question to the audience that will there be rain or shine tomorrow, will you be able to predict? Love. We have it as a chartered accountant who had a brilliant academic career, and as he started it, he authored a book on Vedic Nadi astrology and career readings. And you don't have to look beyond Raghuraman, for whom must have authored this book. He started off with some way too different for a period of time. And that streak of him to do something different continues. If there is one FRCB, among the 5 of them who have been there, represent like the famous 5 ruling the roost in the High Court of Karnataka, starting from Mr. Raghuraman, A. Shankar, K. S. Shankar, Raghuraman himself, and A. Chaitanya, who have been conferred the rank as a senior advocates by the High Court of Karnataka, and they have made chartered accountants known as a commodity who can be very professional in the High Court and very, very high esteem. He is a very soft-spoken, humble person, but not that he is to be taken lightly. And he is a person who is ready of help. If you have a problem, and if you can put it in a piece of paper, go on, sit in front of Raghuraman, hand over the paper to him. Raghuraman will see that, take his time. After that, there will be only one response from him. Yes, it can be done. That is the type of depth of subject matter specialization he has. He can find a solution for a Rubik's or a maze, even though you don't find the other end of it at all. He is such a versatile personality. And apart from his humbleness, when I spoke to people, they said that he contemplates. You go and ask a question to him, he doesn't respond. Don't mistake. It's not that he doesn't want to respond. He will internalize what is query. You will assess that, and then finally when he comes out, the solution will be the best of the solution he can come. And with this, the personality of Raghuraman, I would like him to talk about that, having been very successful in this, what is it that made him to join into indirect taxes, especially those days it was all the way of surplus like what is currently happening in GST, used to start to excise customs and things like that. But the fact of it is, he always wanted a clean practice, and from there he started. And his humility and coolness is unparalleled, as I heard from almost all the people. Can you have a little more about this?
First, I should thank KCA for finding it and finding it appropriate to invite me. And in fact, when Mrs. Sujata called, I said, "Why are you calling me?" There are so many illustrious people. Actually, this is the first time I think I'm speaking on this kind of it has always been subject matter only. So I may have to tell something which I have never shared with so many people or with anyone at all. If you look frankly at my career, not even a day has been planned by me. People will say, you plan this, you do that, you do this. Actually, none of it has happened. When I finished my schooling, I was thinking I should actually become a surgeon. And then my dad retired, and then I said, why should I put, unwanted pressure on him. So somebody said, why don't you do commerce? I said, okay. My dad also said, commerce is a good subject. Okay, fine. So I did commerce. Avaga in 90s, of course, also Singhvi ji was already very famous then. 82, 87, I finished my commerce, BCom I finished, and then after that what? And then they said CA. I said, okay. I went for that also. Then I said, okay, I will get into a company, I'll practice. No, I want to get into a company and become the, hold the topmost position in finance. Fine. I passed my CA. And then suddenly somebody came and said, no, we have a problem in our accounts. Can you help us? Okay. I went into practice. You tell me now it was planned. I went into practice. 1,000 rupees per month retainer, he said. I can't give you 1 rupee more. I didn't know what it was also. 1,000 rupees a month I started. Office, Kaban Park. In between, I had time, I would sit in Kaban Park and have my lunch. That was also not planned. Why I am saying this is, he asked me a question, why you got into indirect taxes? That was also unplanned. Somebody came to my office and said, we have a problem to get one particular type of license in import-exports. I said, okay, let me see what it is. So I had a look at the import-export policy and then I helped him out. From there, I found this also seems to be a very interesting topic. So I took up that. Then indirect taxes came, very akin to, it's very closely linked. Customs, excise, and then 94 service tax came. So actually, if you look at it, there was absolutely no design in this. Maybe now, after so many years of even advocacy, I never thought of it. I remember 91, my dad told me, please do LLB. I enrolled in the college and never went. It was only after my dad passed away that year I enrolled into LLB, passed advocacy. Then 2004, I had finished 14 years of practice. I was fairly well known thanks to all the institute programs I was doing. Thanks to the institute actually, nothing comes from me. Then I decided that probably I was doing only litigation. I was not even signing a balance sheet. So after 94, I think I have not seen a balance sheet properly. Except in relation to indirect tax. That's when I realized, now I realize that probably, we are on lease. Body is on lease. Breath also is on lease. We don't know from where it comes. So at least till it lasts, we should be in a position to do our, whatever job is assigned, do it properly. I cannot motivate and tell you people do this, do that and all. Just see how professionals who have reached a position, how they work. Each has a different way of doing it. You form your own path. There is no necessity to follow X, Y or Z. You follow your own path. You will probably be more successful internally than most of the others who say that they are successful like us. I think that is what I would think as I have done for the last 55, 56 years.
This session is giving us ideas about the nuggets which we don't know about these professionals, though we have been having them and knowing them for long. we also have the pleasure of having the Trichur brothers, and in terms of their personality, they were born and raised most of the time in Chennai, and music was raised in Trichur, raised in Trichur, and for all the concerts in Trichur, all the musicians all over, whether from south or from anywhere in the globe, used to come and stay in their house. So the entire house was always filled with music, and they grew in such a setup. Having heard them, and they must have aspired for that, they must have connected, and they have transcended the boundaries of music, having qualified chartered accountancy. They are people whom, from them, and I have heard them, it was like I spoke to Ramkumar for about 10 minutes. I should say that I didn't speak. I just said I am Suresh. And then the 10 minutes was like a continuous flow of music to the ears from Mohan as to what they are, how they are. Having done the chartered accountancy, been in Big Four, and having been very successful in the investment banking and other things, he suddenly, after a decade, decided music is their calling and passion. They are strict followers of the Guru Parampara, and as we are talking, we said that more or less the CA profession also, the articleship is like Guru Parampara, and they were able to resonate. And what Ramkumar told is, any time any of the brothers cross the Nungambakam highway and they see the institute, they salute that place, because they still always feel that the CA Institute has been greatly influential in their things. And many musicians have found that musicians will be taken lightly because of whatever reasons it is, but these brothers, having had their professional qualification, always are held in high esteem, because these are professionals who are coming and doing music and vocal, which is a very rare breed. They are very smart and fashionable, very, very nationalistic, humane and tech savvy. And their contributions does not stop with them rendering renditions in the halls. They went for almost 40 days, stayed in harsh climates across the Gangetic Plains to come out with their signature edition called Namami Gange. I would like them to give you a peek of what it is and what music means to them. Over to Ramkumar and Srikrishna.
I was waiting for the conference to get over, and if I did reasonably well, then I would have changed the name. Anyway, he's already changed it now. So first of all, thank you KCA for inviting us, and it's such an honor and pleasure to be amongst all of you. And to quickly tell you how we got into chartered accountancy, because the moment we start talking about music, we're not going to stop. So I think as it was mentioned, we are just 2 years apart, and he had done a CA foundation, and I finished my BCom. And we ended up doing CA Inter together. So there was a lot of pressure on me. I'm the elder brother. I had to clear CA before him. And all these kind of things were happening. But the one thing that really got us involved with CA is the fact that when we discussed one fine morning, what should we do? We finished our BCom, what should we do? Then I think we got to a conclusion that it's better to do CA. Because even if we fail, nobody will say anything. That's a very tough course, so nobody will blame that, okay, you didn't do. So that was the stepping stone, and of course, the journey has been beautiful by the grace of Almighty. And I would like to just start off with this particular incident in our life, which changed our entire outlook on life, if I can say that. So this was while we were I was 14 and he was 12. So we've been learning Carnatic music right from a very young age. But it was at this time that one of our gurus, Sri Tamrakad Govinda Nambudiri sir, had come home to teach us. And his classes would begin at 4 a.m. in the morning. And I still remember, I'm sure Ramkumar also vividly remembers this. In Kerala, like you have right now in Bangalore, the monsoons are quite amazing. And especially at 4 a.m., 5 a.m. in the morning, it's an unbelievable sight and an unbelievable sound too, with the downpour on the roof and with the strum of the tampura. So the very fact that he started the class at 4 a.m., it did something to us. And then, believe it or not, I'm sure most of you are familiar with music. It's there inside everybody. For 2 hours, he made us sing only Sarigama Padanisa. Sarigama Padanisa, Sanida Pamagarisa. This is all we did for 2 hours. And until that day, like many youngsters, even we thought, when we were pushed into the Carnatic music class, while 30-40 of our cousins, we are from a joint family, so 30-40 of our cousins outside would be playing cricket. And our parents would say, you guys can do anything you want, 2 conditions. 1, do your Sandhya Vandanam, 2, do your practice, music practice. So until that point of time, even we thought, Sarali very shy, Pallavi very shy, Saptaswaras. It's kind of, we didn't realize how beautiful it was until that morning where we sang just Sarigama Padanisa for 2 hours, and that completely changed our outlook towards Carnatic music.
So, check. Audible, right? Yeah. So, the perspective that we had with respect to CA was also driven, like he said, by the fact that it's a difficult course, so there was no pressure to get through. And also the very first class, I still remember our guru, we fondly call him Sami sir in Kerala, but he used to be heading the costing department for ONGC. So as we went in there for the first class thinking, CA is a difficult course, how are we going to get through and all that, the first thing he told us is, kids, don't worry at all. With CA, what happens is if you get through, you're a chartered accountant. Otherwise, you will simply be a shattered accountant. So the way he actually put that across made us feel really calm, to be honest, about the whole approach. There was no tension. And right up till now, one thing that we find is that CA and music beautifully complements each other. We still remember when we went over to write our CA final examination, the examination started at 8 o'clock in the morning, but we still made sure that we were up by 5 o'clock, not to refer to the income tax books or anything, but to make sure that we had our 1.5 hours of music practice that morning. And that really put us at a space where even if we knew only about 60% of the answers in the question paper, we were able to concentrate on that 60% and make sure that we were able to crack with the 50% average. Music and CA, like we say, until we quit our jobs, we were CA chartered accountants. The minute we quit our jobs, we continue to remain CA, but just that it was called Carnatic artists. So that's the way the whole thing has been, and it was a big decision. We still remember we moved to Chennai in 2004 after we finished our chartered accountancy. We were with KPMG and Pricewaterhouse respectively for a year, and then we moved to the industry. But right throughout, one thing that we've been very particular about is that even as a chartered accountant, when we went and worked for a company, we were very clear that music always will play a very important part. And I think it's also got to do with the fact that we were brought up in a quaint little town of Trichur in Kerala, that we were never really aware of all the pressures of performing in this venue, that venue, senior slot, junior slot, sub-junior, nothing of that sort. We just wanted to sing for the sake of it, for the fun of it. And because of that, the whole approach towards music has also been completely enjoyment, and that possibly rubbed on even when we were studying for our CA, where we had a group of friends who were going out for classes in the morning, coming back home, doing our combined study, having a lot of fun even as we headed to the exam hall. And I will conclude this initial part with saying when we were doing our CA together. It was basically me, a cousin of mine, and Srikrishna. So like he said, he had maximum pressure because he was the eldest. My cousin had slightly lesser pressure because he was only about 6 months older to me. I had the least pressure. So
he doesn't miss an opportunity to tell people that I am the elder one.
So as we completed our exam, there was a lot of swings as well, which CA really prepared us for. While I cleared my CA inter, and Srikrishna had to wait for the next attempt to get through, as we headed to the finals, he cleared it and I flunked in both groups. So it was more like, and the funnier thing is, like they say, you are, not very sad when you don't get through, but when somebody close to you gets through that difficult an exam, you're like, oh my God, I need to go through the whole thing again. Even funnier is, as we went back to meet our guru after the exams, I told sir that, sir, I couldn't get the average, though I got through all the papers. And then my guru called Udayan sir, he called Srikrishna and he said, so how much did you get in the first group of the final? So he said, I got exactly 200, sir. And then he said, okay, how about the second group? Exactly 200, sir. So that was a starting point. I think CA to a great extent has prepared us to take things a lot easier, which has been extremely helpful for us as we headed towards our profession as Carnatic musicians.
I'll just add one more anecdote to this. So I think what music does, and I feel every chartered accountant in this room should definitely pursue some kind of an art form, whether it's music, painting, reading, writing, poetry, whatever, because modesty apart, what it has done to a lot of us is that it definitely takes a lot of pressure off your life, and you start seeing life in a different light. For example, when I was working with PricewaterhouseCoopers, PwC, 15 days into the Big Four routine, and I knew I was not made for this life. And I remember meeting my partner, who is a very big music fan, enthusiast. So I told him, sir, does PwC mean PricewaterhouseCoopers, or does it mean please work continuously?
That's the personality part of the panelists for you, and they have very unique traits. Talking of FR, he's absolutely fearless. I don't think he'll disagree with me on this at all. He has a huge risk-taking ability, whether it is a practice or in whatever forum it is. He has a passion for quality. He's a very private man, but believe me that he places his family above all. And at a time, 25 years back, when everybody clamored to have a house or a flat inside the city, he went away 25 kilometers away into Kanakpura Road, bought an acre of land so that he can have the peace and tranquility with the family. That is the nature of a person. Having said this, there is this ye dil mange more moment for each of us. But FR clearly disagrees with that. There is no dil mange more moment for anything. But I am sure with the listing of Sansera Engineering about 8 months back, there must be a sense of euphoria on him. Can you please tell us, how did you feel about your ye dil mange more moment?
So, after I joined my father and I didn't want to continue with that kind of practice, and I wanted to create a larger organization. So when I asked him, he said, why do you want more in life? This is enough for you. My father used to go do some bhakti at home, have breakfast, light breakfast, or sometimes miss out, go to temple, again do bhakti, not pujas, bhakti, we follow Srimad Rajchandra. Come back home, have lunch, go to office at 11:30. By 2 o'clock, 2:30, he will reach income tax office with papers. He will take his own return form, give it to the clerk there and said, file these returns and give me the acknowledgement. And those days you could tell the officer that I'm coming and meeting you today with all my cases, you would take the list. 4:30, he will leave the income tax office, go to temple, come back home and has his dinner. So that was his life. And he would say, your money that you earn, what you earn, keep 20% aside for your future emergencies, 20% for your family, society, and 60% to 50% you spend, pay taxes. So when I wanted to start, he said, why do you need more? Why do you want to do all this? So while even today I would say he was right, because today I earn till 80% of my expenses, I'm break even. So I have to first earn for others and then only my profit comes in. But that inculcated a habit that you don't really work for money. I mean, basically the family, that values that were brought to us with this bhakti and the kind of life my father led, was that you'd lead a wholesome life with the community, with the family, and do your profession. And what I added to that was, I was bold enough to say what I don't like, I don't want to continue. And I was bold enough to change. So like, for example, with the income tax office department, on certain legal matters, I would, discuss and openly tell him they are wrong on the face. And my father would come back and tell me, why did you have to do that? You don't have to tell him he's wrong, including Devraj's father. I have said, sir, you're not right. So that is how I was not anymore now. I don't say it on the face that often now. So, but that created that passion in me that, like I think Ram said, enjoy. So to me, I think one has to be passionate about doing whatever he wants. I mean, first is you must be passionate in life. And with the passion, then you should look at that passion when you take up any activity, whether you get enjoyment out of it. You can be passionate about earning income. You would stress out yourself. Okay, but the point is, I have said this in my earlier interviews, you can see it on the net, many years ago, that if you are good, you do well, money will come, it's a byproduct. Money should not be the objective in life, and that is what was inculcated very early in our lives. And so that satisfaction has been there even when we had very, very little income, and satisfaction is there even with a large income. In fact, today I have a challenge because I have more work to do with my extra wealth, and I'm finding ways and means to spend it on so many social work. Because to me, I have believed, and this is what inculcated, that we have one life. We are born in this world to die for a better life in the next janma. I think Raghuraman can probably explain it better to you. So this is a journey that we undertake, and if we forget the main objective, why we've transformed from so many lives and wanting to be in a better life next, we must keep that as a factor. And so when you hold that all the time in your subconscious mind or conscious mind, and work with passion to enjoy, I think it's a very meaningful life that you can carry on. So if you look at my life, I was since CA Institute Secretary. In fact, what Suresh said, we were in one Rajaram Mohan Roy building, a very dilapidated building. I had to fight with our secretary that time, Gopal Krishna. I was just 22 years old. We are not looking really, and I was quite small and tiny. But I fought. I said, this is not the office for the CA Institute. And got the office in JC Road with the library and grant for library, with the condition that office was given on the basis that we will conduct CA Institute, people could come and do exam there. That is how the branch was given. And that's how I got in touch with Srikrishna Swami that you talked about, because the other half he took because Institute couldn't afford the full office. And that is how Krishna Swami was pulled into our CA activity. So he was one of my best mentors that I had. But I pulled him into CA association activity, which was not really keen on. He was more into temples. And he continued. I left CA association, but he didn't leave. So from that time onwards, whether it was this, I was a founder member of Karnataka Marwadi Youth Federation, which is the limb, with the basic that Marwadi community earns money, they do charity, but people see them earning money, not doing charity. So I said we should do in our name, giving time apart from money. And that's how I've been. So with that, I've been active in CA Institute. Now in the auto industry, I'm very active in our Auto Component Association. I have the largest portfolio after the president of ACMA, having 40 consultants who work under me to improve industry members across India, and I'm a non-technician. So I'm saying that I've led life to enjoy with my passion. And today my company runs, it's an
listed company, majority of the shares are being held by institutional investors because they think it's a good long-term asset. And this company is run by employees, not by us. In 2000, when we started Singhvi Nuni, first thing we decided while forming the firm was that this firm is going to go beyond our lifetime, and the only way it can go is on the partners are admitted on meritocracy and not based on relationship. And partners will retire without goodwill, partners will be admitted without goodwill. I'm happy to tell you that what we decided in 81, we all three followed it. None of our children are there in SDU, but it's one of the best firms that I know. And the same principle we followed in Sansera, that none of our promoter children will be in Sansera. And so it's an employee-driven company. We don't have any kind of tax planning. Like I said, I have a single company with 2 subsidiaries. No indirect activities where promoters can take money from the company in any other way. So this is basically coming with the fact that we have a bigger journey to do. But we are in this journey of life to death. We have to really be passionate and enjoy. I tell my friends of my age who are still continuing to work and continue with the idea of doing profession or business the way they were doing, looking at money as an important character. I would say, what would you do? Would you come in the next life and do other things that you want to do in life? So that has been my philosophy. I have been attempting to work towards it. You know, you can just attempt. How much you reach, I don't know, but this is the journey that I've done. So satisfaction has been one of my major strengths, that I'm satisfied with whatever I have today, but I'll strive to continue to enjoy with my passion, do whatever is the best manner possible. Thank you.
You would have noticed I had asked Singhvi as to what was his Dil Mange More moment. And I told you in the beginning itself that he doesn't believe in one. And as you see, in his whole thing, you would not have addressed one. But I am sure that there are many more of his, and we'll have occasions later to get to know him better. We have Raghuraman, and one of the significant contributions which I can remember of him is there's a concept paper which was published by the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India with 8 months of very hard and assiduous research conducted in Bangalore by 20 CAs and championed by people like Raghuraman into that, where for the first time in the annals of the country as well as ICAI, before a law came into force, there was a concept paper of what should be done by the government of India. The transition provisions on GST laws to move away from the 10 different laws into a single law was championed by Raghuraman and his team, and as a publication through ICAI was given to the government of India. And from the words of Madhukar Hiragenge, I have heard 95% of that particular concept paper was cut and pasted into the final GST law promulgated by ICAI, but promulgated by government of India. I am sure this is only one among the many which he has as a Dil Mange More moment. I would like him to share some of his.
I can assure Suresh ji, given the fact that the transitional provisions have attracted most litigation, that is not my Dil Mange More moment at all. Drafting is one, implementation is another. That is not in our hands. But if it has fueled so much of litigation and so many professionals are benefited by it, probably then you can say it's a Dil Mange More moment, not for me, for the others. But there are 2 moments which in my life I have felt completely different. One is in my spiritual life, and one is in the professional life. The day I was initiated by Sringeri Jagadguru, that changed my life. Why it changed is because the practice you follow after that makes you a better professional. It gives you a clarity of thought. What Mr. Suresh said, that if a client comes in and speaks to you and you're thinking, the thinking process is, the clutter is cleared. It is easier for you to think. At least I would think that way. That is one. Second was a very, a moment which, I never expected. I was designated at senior, the notification came at around 7 p.m. Next day I am appearing in the High Court before the Chief Justice and other court halls. But a senior has to wear a specific dress and a gown, which I didn't have, because at 7 o'clock if it comes in the night, where do you get this gown and coat made? Because that takes 15 days to, only somebody in Madras makes it. So I went with my usual dress, I was walking. A judge of the High Court stopped me and in the morning and said, Raghuraman, you have been designated, is not. Where is your dress? I said, my lords, only yesterday 7 o'clock the notification came, so I was not prepared for this. He said, okay. He called me to his chamber. So I went, normally we don't go to the judge's chambers at all. So I went and stood outside. He called me in. Do you know you are one of the most deserving candidates? Come. He made me stand. And he went inside. He took a gown and wore it on me. That is when I felt, as a chartered accountant, I have impressed a non-tax judge. That is how clear CAs are when they convey. That is also another Dil Mange More moment, which these two incidents I remember very clearly, and I felt proud that I have done something worthwhile in life. Thank you.
We all know the traits of Raghuraman. He is frank, bold, honest, helpful, and down to earth. And all these qualities, you could have seen him and been recognized by a non-tax judge as well. Shows the character of Raghuraman. Coming to our right side of the flag, it's always fun, music, laughter, and the way they enthrall. Ganges was known for its ferociousness, for its spiritual thing, but it was also known for the amount of filth which it contained. But then there was a moment which was called as Clean Ganga. And to help that process, we had our own reverend to take up a project called Namami Gange. And the nationalistic fervor, they also took up to have a dedication rendered for the armed forces, Vande Bharatambhe. These are very unique things, not just as musicians, even to think beyond the realm of what you can do on a national level. I would like a Dil Mange moment of this or anything else from the Trichur brothers, and I would also request them to sing a song for all of us.
So, of course, Namami Gange and Vande Bharatambhe are big moments in our life. But I think everybody in this hall would have had one of their biggest Dil Mange More moment when the CA results was announced and they passed. And personally, for me, I had that Dil Mange More moment for a very different reason. I said, Appa, from today I don't have to think about CA. Because there was so much of pressure that I have to clear CA for two reasons. One, then I'll be allowed to get into music full time. Two, they'll get a girl for me. So many things on that day dropped from my head and gave a lot of headspace. So that was definitely one of the biggest Dil Mange More moment. I think Ramkumar will talk about Namami Gange.
So, like Suresh ji rightly mentioned, Namami Gange anthem has definitely been one of our greatest moments ever for multiple things. To start with, it was, I faintly remember it was during our PM's Medicine Square Garden speech. As musicians, we were watching like any other Indian was, and the passion with which our PM spoke about the Ganga. As Carnatic musicians, as musicians in general, there's a lot of connection between music and nature. So we've sung a lot of kritis on Ganga, Kaveri, etc. But Ganga, the national river, one of the things that we always felt bad about, even before we watched the speech, was that every time we toured to the US or outside of India, especially amongst our generation, the one thought that they had in their mind was about the filth in Ganga, how it is maintained in a fashion that is very filthy, not taken care of, etc. Unfortunately, also to a great extent driven by only those parts which are majorly projected by, for example, National Geographic or Discovery or a lot of these channels. So one of the things that we wanted to impress upon at that point of time when we did get the right opportunity was to show the amount of beauty that River Ganga has. There are some parts like Lucknow, Kanpur, Varanasi, etc., where because of an urban development problem, because of the way the industries are set up, because of a survival issue for people there, there's a lot of pollution that goes into Ganga. But all of you here should try and make a trip when time permits to the source of Ganga, which is at 14,000 feet at Gaumukh. So as part of the Namami Gange anthem, we got to see Ganga in all its pristinity, in all its pure form. And so this is something that we wanted to convey to a lot of them in our generation, whereby, we broke the anthem itself into three parts, where the first part speaks about the beauty of Ganga. And for that, we've rightly used Adi Shankaracharya's Gangashtakam. And then we have the second part, which talks about how the river is important for biodiversity, for the economy, for culture, for tourism, and a lot of other aspects. And then the third part, which is the most important part that we wanted to include as part of this, was about how we as citizens of the country need to take it upon our hands and just not depend on parliamentarians or the other elected professionals to do whatever little is possible from our side. So these thought processes have been running in our mind for a long time. So the motivating factor that pushed us to actually taking it extremely seriously was this speech by our Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji. And as soon as that was done, me and Srikrishna just got together, and I think in a span of roughly 30 minutes, I think it was a very inspired moment for us, and we just got the basic of the anthem done in terms of the tune, etc. And we shot a mock video in Varanasi and sent it across to the government, just like anybody else would. We just shot it across to the government with a letter saying that we are Trichur brothers, so and so Carnatic musicians, but this has always been a dream. And if we have the right support, we can actually make this a much more massive project, thereby showing the real beauty of the Ganga. And surprise of surprises, within about 20 days, we still remember the moment when we suddenly received a letter, and it was from Ministry of Water Resources saying that we had a look at your project and we'd like to have you in Delhi to discuss this further. So cut quickly to 1 year later, State Bank of India was kind enough to come in as a financial sponsor, and the government was extremely supportive in this cause, and the massive project took shape. Why it was specifically a Dil Mange More moment for us was also because it was the very first time that a typically South Indian crew, for whom the Ganga is really not a physical entity that flows in their backyard, we were able to finally do a project on the Ganga with a crew of nearly 20 members. We were on the banks of River Ganga, and finally when this was launched in Haridwar and adopted by the Government of India as the official anthem to the Clean Ganga movement, that was clearly our Dil Mange More moment.
So, this was one aspect in our life where we absolutely understood the value that chartered accountancy has added to us. Absolutely, because see, once you write your CA exams, you're not worried about failures, right? Number one. Number two is, even though they advocate conservative system of accounting. Once you finish your CA, you become more aggressive in life. So these two things really helped us to, and we had to deal with a lot of bureaucrats. We had to deal with a lot of fund managers. So to convey the point, to tell them what's the cost benefit analysis, what's the impact it could have on environment. So many things we could do only because of our chartered accountancy background and the fact that we worked, or I would rather say we spent 7 years in the corporate life.
And I think we would possibly have been the first, and it happened to be our debut filmmaking project as well. And I think we'd be one of the very few filmmakers who actually got their creative team together and gave them a presentation on Excel sheet and PowerPoint to say what the film has to be.
And just one more thing I'll add, if time permits. So this has been bothering both of us for a long time now, and I'm sure a lot of chartered accountants too. We still don't, probably the system has changed, but at least for us, when we finished our CA and we did the GMCS course, which is mandatory now, I guess, then we were given this form in the institute, which is your application for membership. And the first line said, I beg the Chartered Accountancy Institute, I beg you to do this, I beg you to do that. I was like, boss, we worked so hard these 3 years and why should we beg here? So I think we should definitely change that and say that, we demand membership into the firm.
A very pertinent note. I am sure that Geeta is here and she will take note of it and pass it on to the regional council. And regional council is meant to give recommendations to the central council, so they will pass it on. Yeah. So this brings us about the Namami Gange. They also are very nationalistic. They have done a rendition exclusively for the men in the army who put up their life at risk in 50 degrees minus temperatures at various places, and exclusively for them they have also made a rendition. I would like you to speak a little bit about that, and then would like to have your song, which will be something which we are very keen and eager to present.
So again, following up on the Namami Gange, the kind of response that it had, we kept getting a lot of mails from even people abroad saying that it's nice to see the government actually taking so much interest in working on projects of national interest and conservation of the environment. So the next we wanted to do, again, on account of the fact that we studied in a school in Trichur, whose principal, the school had a principal, Nalini Chandran, and she was a war widow. And so right from our childhood, during the Kargil war, there were collection campaigns, donation campaigns that were run in the school. So on account of that, the feeling of patriotism was but very, very natural. And that's what gave birth to this project called Vande Bharatambe, where we worked closely with the Indian Armed Forces to get some interesting footages, etc. And that was an out-and-out tribute to the Indian Armed Forces, and that again is a very touching moment, because I still remember that when we launched this particular music video in Delhi, there were a lot of Armed Forces personnel as well as their families, and a lot of them actually had tears in their eyes, and so that's something that was very, very touching for us.
Right, so before we begin the song, I'm just going to do a 30 seconds exercise with all of you here. So every chartered accountant in this room, humble request, please join us here. We're going to sing Sarigama Padanisa. All right? Everybody should join. I have a reason. Sa, Re, Ga, Ma, Pa, Da, Ni, Sa, Sadama, Gama Pagama Nirisa, Sari Gama Padanisa, Sanida Pamagarisa. All right, never in your life again you should say you don't know music. All right, and it is just to communicate a point that everybody has music within them. Every single soul in this universe has music within them. I'm sure Sir would agree with me that Paramashiva, he is Nada Brahman, and Nada Brahmam is music. And anything you call music in this world, believe me, comes from Indian classical music. So, thank you. So it's my appeal, our appeal, that all of you should get into some kind of art form.
In fact, it is called Mahanada. From there only sound is supposed to have started as per our Tantra Shastra.
Wow. Wow.
Mahanada, from Mahanada comes Nada and Bindu. That is where your Guru mantras will, probably Sanskrit you will know so well. It will tell Nada Bindu Kala Tirtham Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. That is how it is starting.
Wow. Wow.
Thank you.
So by the way, that was one of the best choruses that we've heard. I'll separately talk to you to understand how to fix them for our next chorus for the next album.
Right. So this is the song that was sung for the Indian National Army, and it's a composition of B. Shashikumarji, who hails from Kerala. It's set to Rupaka Talam, Mishra Chapa Talam and Riti Kavala Ragam. Vande Bharatambe Varadayike Paradevate Vande Bharatambe Varadayike Paradevate Vande Bharatambe Varadayike Paradevate Vande Bharatambe Varadayike Paradevate Vande Bharatambe Himagiri Magudam Sudum Hindu Sagaram Padam Talodum Sundara Himagiri Magudam Sudum Hindu Sagaram Padam Talodum Maranda Surabila Malarvadigani Manavagridayam Magozavadayini Maranda Surabila Malarvadigani Manavagridayam Magozavadayini Gariza Gariza Gagama Damani Damazani Dama Gariza Gariza Gagama Damani Damazani Dama Gariza Gagamama Nini Zani Damama Nini Zagagama Gariza Zani Damama Gariza Ma Gariza Zani Damama Garizani Ma Gariza Zani Damama Gariza Vande Bharatambe Varadayike Paradevate Vande Bharatambe Aryapuradana Kirtigal Vilasidum Amme Nin Padarakshakyai Anavadi Kodigal Davasandadigal Adiyadi Sernu Varunno Jangal Anavadi Kodigal Davasandadigal Adiyadi Sernu Varunno Jangal Ma Gariza Gariza Gagama Damani Damazani Dama Gariza Gariza Gagama Damani Damazani Dama Gariza Gagamama Nini Zani Damama Nini Zagagama Gariza Zani Damama Gariza Ma Gariza Zani Damama Gariza Ni Ma Gariza Zani Damama Gariza Vande
वन्दे भारतम्बे वरदायिके परदेवते वन्दे भारतम्बे Thank you.
Without any accompaniment, the way they have been able to sort of, cut across the language but communicate the armed forces and what they do for us and rendering a song for them. These two people are extremely creative, artistic, very dedicated for a nationalist cause, and Srikrishna has done us a favor of initiating all of us into vocal music as well too. Friends, this brings us, we can go on and on with this sort of a panel, but then time is always something which you also have to keep in mind, and we come to the home run, which is possibly a quick session. We would like each of them to communicate what they would like to sort of give us a message, having been called upon here to sort of motivate all of us here, starting from FR. They just sung, so that's why I thought I should give them a breather.
At the outset, I think I'm very fortunate to be here with Ram and Shri because we all want to be famous, whether publicly or at least internally. We all like to be remembered. But however good work you do, with your death everything goes, and maybe for a few years your family remembers it. But in case of artists, writers, and all these people, after they are gone, they become more famous. So this is something that very few people, it's a very rare moment for us to have them here with us. So if I today give you advice, become musicians like them. That's don't follow me, follow them. That's what I would say. But okay, the only thing that I would like to tell chartered accountants, again it comes from my previous talk, is really think big, number one. Number two is we have to reform the society for the better, as not only as business consultants or tax consultants. Our clients take us very seriously. They follow your advice. I think as chartered accountants, Krishna has said it in different profession. Raghu is an advocate, he's respected. And let me tell you, in industry, I've got tremendous respect, despite being not a technical person. I think thanks to this kind of education we get of chartered accountants. Because we become more clear, we can do maths very more clearly. So why are you underestimating yourself? And just doing certain, majority of them are still in tax practice. It is important. I don't say it is not important. The tax laws are totally illogical. So they need somebody like us to advise them. But don't make that as your focal point of activity. This can be like when you talk about a pie diagram, this could be like your 10 or 15% or 20% of your work. Look at bigger horizon. I mean today, I have to say it as very proudly that being the company is successful for two reasons. My partner was a technical person. But understand that technology is very difficult to achieve. But once it is there, it is a matter of discipline. And for a factory to run, apart from the technology, there are so many other things that need to be done. And I can tell you, even my partner who's an engineer will vouch that nobody better than chartered accountant to do all that. Be it HR, be it legal, be it dealing with your customers, the way we can sit and discuss with them and explain in a better manner because we know how to represent, or with your employees. So I'm saying the potential of chartered accountant and the course that it brings in is huge. But just being in the tax practice, to me, you're underestimating yourself. You're doing work below your capacity. If I do work in my factory below capacity, I would lose. And that's what I would say, that as a professional fraternity, right from the institute onwards, they have to bring in this. Why should a IAM person get much higher salary than any of us? And let me tell you, I have got enough experience of IAM people. They would work out with beautiful strategies. They will give you a PowerPoint in a better manner than what we do. But the hard stuff comes more from chartered accountants. It comes more from the chartered accountants. And so our brand has to be, right from the institute level, I think we have to really rethink and see how to transform our image. If you look at the government level, they are trying to bring in more and more, curtailing the institute powers. Why? Because our brand is not very good in government's mind. So I think it is responsibility of institute and the members that collectively we should our work should reflect in a much better manner, and we have to put in efforts. We can't say that, okay, our work is there and that is fine. So like I said, I started Marwadi Youth Federation just to show to the community here that we do a lot more charity, and I'm happy to tell you that government recognized and gave Rajyotsav award to this association. So I'm saying that at the institute level also we have to put in effort. We don't expect that people remember us and our work and take up initiative on their own. So we are very good workers, but we need to be more of CEOs as well. So even at the institute level, at our level, look at the life very differently, look at it in a bigger manner. I think competency-wise, nobody can touch chartered accountants. Because hardly they give us percent. I passed here too many years ago, so I don't remember, but it used to be 2.53%. So like you said, correct, everybody, chartered account finish means your whole reputation in the family, community, across it changes. But are we doing justice to that by way of our work? I would question that. And having lived in another life of being professional, even in community service, let me tell you today, earlier community service was like 20%. Now today community service for me is 80%. But the way I can think, the way I can project things to the other members and convince them is far better than most of my other members in our NGOs. And I would attribute all this to the professional work that we did, the number of clients we meet and represent. So all these are good quality, but I don't really know how the profession runs, but I do definitely know at my company level, the audits is becoming much more difficult for us to comply with auditors' request of lots of forms. The whole annual report today, I don't read my own company annual report. It's so many pages. I don't know who reads it. And all that is responsibility on you, but that's a work that one has to do. But please make sure that that work is part of your less than 50%. 50% should be your consulting work, and that is where big image is there, big money is there, and big achievement to the country is there for you. So that's the message I would give. Thank you.
If our message is loud and clear, think big, be a consultant, and be boundless. Over to Raghuraman.
Generally, when I started my profession, how much I knew and how much the youngsters today know, I can confidently tell you, I knew only 10% of what they know. When you reach my age, you will know 10 times of what I know. Because I am very confident that when I see the youngsters, they are simply extremely good when it comes to working. And they have all the requisite, materials with them today. So as if you have passed the chartered accountancy course, let me tell you, see, I have seen both the CA difficult to pass, LLB difficult to fail. These are two extremes. And whenever, I'll tell you one thing, whenever government wants to interfere with the institute, it means the government is jealous of the institute. They know that this category of persons are far ahead. We can't touch them. So we have to needle them. So it's my personal perception. You just think about it. That is because the process you have adopted to pass chartered accountancy course. There is a verse in Bhagavad Gita. Na kartavyam na karmani lokasya srijati prabhuhu na karma pala sayyogam swabhavastu pravartate. You are responsible for your state of affairs. No God will come to your rescue. Na kartavyam na karmani lokasya, he does not have any duty. Nor does he decide your rewards. Please understand, this is the only religion which says this. He does not decide your rewards. Your rewards are decided by your efforts. So all of those who are sitting here, all of us who are chartered accountants, we have decided to become CAs. You have to decide what you have to do with your practice. I will tell you, this is the approach I adopt. Your practice is your child. You are the mother. How should you look after it? Please do that. Thank you.
All the things are in your hands. How you shape it it's up to you, is the message which Raghuraman has said. And music has a very natural flow. They start with Charanam, Pallavi and so many things, and then they also have always a session when they wind up, they have something which they close. And I would like the Trichur brothers to bring the finale to this by giving your message to this audience.
So, a few years ago, I had been on a vacation to Switzerland, and while we were in the train, we met an Indian family, and immediately we started talking. It was nice to see an Indian family, and the gentleman started asking me, so how long are you here? I told him so many days. How much did you pay for the trip? I said so much. For accommodation, what did you do? I said so much. And he went on asking again and again about all these expenditure. I asked him, sir, are you a chartered accountant? And he said yes. So for me, I think by nature, both of us are like that. The life outside, the life, actual life, beyond your workspace. That's very, very important. And I think that will lay the foundation to how well you perform as a chartered accountant. I can't speak for a chartered accountant because I'm no longer one. But I have 100% confidence that if life outside your office, life outside your office is colorful, then it's definitely going to motivate you to work better and increase your wealth. So for that, I would definitely advocate getting into some kind of an art form. Anything. It could be music, it could be painting, it could be cinema, it could be drama, it could be theater. But something like that adds a lot of color to your life. And most importantly, you cease to become a chartered accountant after your office hours, which is very important for your family.
We've been able to learn so much in just this one session. The perspective that Singhvi sir started with about, not bothering too much about the tax payments, but making sure that, you diversify the business, earn a lot more, look at increasing the top line, etc., is a perspective that, for some reason, though it is a very simple perspective, a way of looking at things has never ever crossed our mind. So as soon as he said that, I was looking at Srikrishna and he was immediately looking at me. And we knew that, this is something that is as simple as bottling water, but none of us have really thought about it that way. And we will surely take that as a learning from this session and try to do our best to see things in that perspective. With Raghuraman sir, again, the humility, the manner in which he was simplifying the whole process of becoming a true professional is something, sir, that we will take from you. And I'm sure when I talk to everyone here, there is something that we will be able to learn from all of you. We think we're too small to give an advice per se, but I think all of us, there's a common feeling here that while I was talking to my friend today a little earlier, and I was telling him that, we're going to be part of a session here. Somehow the conversation kept going on. I was meeting him, talking to him over phone after such a long time. And one of the things that we got discussing is even before you start choosing an academic career, when you look at chartered accountancy as a career and make a very, very simple cost-benefit analysis, if you look at how much you actually spend for the course and the kind of benefits that it draws, the kind of human being that it makes out of you, it's one of the courses that will definitely have the biggest multiplier in terms of the cost-benefit analysis. And unfortunately or fortunately, sometimes this is really not portrayed to the students in between all this, running to the articleship, studying for the exam, clearing the exam. Okay, I'm a chartered accountant today, tomorrow I have to go to this office, midnight I have to go and pick up the balance sheet. This is how our entire life is running. I think by qualification, by metal, by character, chartered accountants, all of us have to be extremely proud about the career choice, the academic choice that we've made. The only thing is we have to work together. I was just mentioning to Suresh ji as well that as musicians, when we travel abroad, even to places where CA is not even recognized as a academic qualification, places like US and Europe, etc. After our whole resume is read before the audience before a concert, and they end the resume with both Srikrishna and Ramkumar, chartered accountants, that is what really brings the maximum murmurs and applause from the crowd. So that's the recognition our course really has. If we are able to, as a professional body, really make sure that this whole branding is taken to another level, where I'm sure we have enough of creative people who are part of the fraternity. We have people with vast industry experience. If only we are able to put our heads together and think about the institute and the benefit that we can give to all students who pass out of chartered accountancy tomorrow, I think that's the biggest thing that all of us will be able to do. I'll just end with a small line I read somewhere, like you mentioned about an MBA and a CA. So the simplest definition was when office closes at 9 o'clock, the person who sends his last mail at 8:59 is a chartered accountant, and the person who sends his last email at 9:01 is an MBA. Both of them leave at 9:10. Thank you.
Quite inspired by the panelists. I do remember that last couple of years has been very adventurous for me. In fact, me and my son, Sudarshan, who is also a chartered accountant, who is there now in Australia, we have taken to adventure, and both of us have climbed Mount Kilimanjaro, which is about 19,500 feet. That's the 4th tallest mountain in the world and the single largest freestanding mountain, which means if there's a gale wind, you don't know where you will land up. And there was a 10-day chadar trek where you had to walk on the ice and sleep on the ice. And there was one day which was continuously, there was pouring barf, and people said it is almost akin to Siberia. These are experiences which are completely out of the world, whether it is snorkeling in Philippines or whether it is Great Barrier Reef. I would request that we have taken too much of pressure of our clients. There's a time where we need to diversify. We need to diversify not only in the profession, even in our personal pursuits. This will be my personal message for all of us. We should not get trained and completely absorbed by the client's requirements. And with this note, I hand this session back to the organizers, thanking them for giving all of us a great opportunity. It was a fantastic learning opportunity for us in a very different manner. And whilst all technical sessions have always been technical sessions, there was a fusion in this, in a session like this, called as a special session. We had music, and whatever we heard from all the people, apart from the regular rendition of the music, was also music to our ears. Thank you very much.
I request all the delegates to please be seated. Thank you, sirs. This session has indeed expanded our thinking horizon on how life after CA need not be restricted to just a typical CA career, and that we have limitless options. I now request CA Venkatesh Babu TR to present a memento to CA PR Suresh as a token of our gratitude and appreciation. Thank you, sir, for wonderfully moderating the session and for bringing out so many interesting stories of our panelists. I now request CA Pandaraj S, Regional Council Member, to present a memento to CA FR Singhvi. The memento that is being presented is a live caricature that was made of all the speakers. A huge round of applause for Mr. FR Singhvi. I now request CA Geeta AB, Regional Council Member, to present a memento to CA V Raghuraman as a token of our gratitude and appreciation. Thank you, sir, for telling us about your unplanned yet successful career path. I request CA Rajgopal A, past Regional Council Member, to present a memento to CA Srikrishna Mohan as a token of our gratitude. It was indeed a pleasure to watch the Trichur brothers. Thank you for showing us that it is never too late to change your career path and choose what you like to do. I now request CA Srinivas T to present a memento to CA Ramkumar Mohan as a token of our gratitude. I must say it was soothing to listen to both of you sing. A huge round of applause, ladies and gentlemen.